Hi, my name is John and I'm the pastor here at Hope Covenant Church in Orland Park. We wanted to make this video because we have had just an outstanding response to an article that was published in the Orland Park Patch about our church starting the first homeless shelter here in Orland in the last 30 years. We wanted to basically cover three main things in this video. Number one, why we're doing this. Number two, the safety concerns that have been brought up that are very valid from members of the community. And number three, so that we can tell you how you can be a part of this shelter through volunteering or giving. The first concern is, why are we doing this in Orland Park? And that's a very valid question. Many people don't think that Orland Park is a community that has a homeless population, but it's simply not true. If you ask any of the faith leaders or members of the township or any of the police officers, they will tell you that we do here have a homeless population that is living around us at all times. A lot of times they aren't seen because they have a car or they stay out of sight, but we need to be able to care for those individuals, and that's why it's really important that we have a shelter here in Orland Park that doesn't just house people but moves them towards sustainable housing. And so that's what our shelter is all about. The second reason that we are starting this shelter is because we want to be a good neighbor to everyone in our community. And so, as I'll address in a moment, we do want to be good neighbors to those who are living in housing that is around this community. We want to make sure that they are kept safe. But we also want to make sure that the homeless individuals of Orland Park and our surrounding suburbs are also kept warm and safe during a very hard Chicago winter. We believe that every human being is endowed with the image of God and deserving of dignity and respect. And so that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to impart that dignity and respect to everyone who we come in contact with. Some safety concerns have been brought up, especially the proximity to the nearby schools and families who live in our neighborhood. Like I said before, we want to be a good neighbor, and part of being a good neighbor is doing due diligence to make sure that our facility is safe, not only for the residents and children that are at the schools in our community, but also for those within the shelter and volunteering. That's why we work with Beds Plus, who does a wonderful job of doing criminal background checks on every single person who is a resident of the shelter or who's a client of the shelter. They all have a photo ID, so we know exactly who is in our shelter at any time. And unlike other shelters that end at 7 a.m., ours ends early at 6 a.m. as not to overlap with the bus schedules or any of the comings and goings of families in our neighborhood. At that time at 6 a.m., the individuals are bussed out of the community to a day center where they can work towards sustainable housing and stay warm, because we know that the days can be just as cold as the nights during the winter. We also have 24-hour monitoring. For the entire time that the shelter is open, no individuals are permitted to be outside of our monitoring. And so we don't allow people to go outside, we don't allow them to wander around the church or anywhere else. We want to know where people are for their own safety and for the safety of others at all times while they're part of our shelter. The third thing that we wanted to address is how you can get involved. We know that there's a lot of people in Orland Park who have wanted to volunteer for this. Like I said, the response has been overwhelming. Our phones have been ringing nonstop. We've had plenty of people who've already emailed in. And so we're going to be setting up another volunteer training in the next couple of weeks. If you want to be part of that volunteer training so that you too can work at our shelter here on Tuesday nights, we're going to add some information about that below. But what we'd really like you to do is send an email to us at info, that's INFO, at orlandhope.org. Otherwise, volunteers, we don't just need volunteers to be chaperones for those 12 or 11 hours that they're in our building. We also need teams to cook. Every single person who enters this shelter is given 3 meals. They're given dinner, a hot dinner, when they arrive in the evening at 7. They're given a hot breakfast before they leave in the morning, and they're given a sack lunch on their way so that we know that they have the sustenance that they need to get back on their feet. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm really, really excited that our community is partnering with not just our church, but the whole community of Orland Park to help those who are in need in a safe and sustainable way. Thank you for now, and look forward to volunteering with you.